On News Hour tonight.
Fuel prices are expected to rise significantly in the coming months, as announced last November by the NNPC. We all know when this happens, as the government has planned, it will push many millions deeper into poverty.
Former Head of State Abdulsalami Abubakar at Trust Annual Dialogue says Nigeria at crossroad. INEC meets security agencies ahead of its scheduled by-elections. Monthly rent payment proposal excites Abuja residents. And on the foreign scene, first foreign aid arrives isolated disaster-struck Tonga from New Zealand. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Dashan Hussaina Usman. Now the news in detail. Speakers at the 19th Daily Trust Dialogue want all Nigerians to join hands to salvage the country from its current challenges as the nation approaches the next circle of elections. Trust TV's Shafi'u Suleiman reports that speakers at the forum stressed the need for the emergence of competent leadership that will address the root causes of the nation's contemporary and existential challenges. The report.
Setting the stage for the conversation anchored on the theme 2023, the politics, economy and insecurity. Chairman Media Trust Limited Kabir Yusuf underscores the imperative of addressing the existing fault lines ahead of the polls.
This political storm is brewing at a time when the Nigerian economy is not in the best of shape. The country is hurting from the protracted impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our revenues may be growing, but so is our population, along with the twin evils of poverty and unemployment. We are confronted by intractable security challenges and an atmosphere of fear that pervades all parts of the country, especially its northern part.
Subsequent speakers re-echo his position as they lament the situation Nigeria has found itself despite its enormous human and material resources.
Build infrastructure all across the country, expand the private sector, develop social services like all health and education for all Nigerians, and create millions of jobs for our teeming youth over the next 5 years.
We have two major problems in our educational sector. One, the mismatch between our educational system and the industry. The mismatch between our graduates and the labor markets. These are some of the issues that we need to discuss. Our graduates are no more employable. Technical and vocational educational systems that we have on ground before are not in existence.
There is, however, a consensus on the need for the nation to revisit its leadership recruitment processes and procedures, address governance deficit, and halt the downward slide in economic, political, and security sectors through human capital development, functional education for sustainable development.
The more we sit down and talk, the more answers keep on flowing into our heads and into our brains. But people ask, after all the dialogue sessions we've been having over the years, what have been happening to all those external resolutions that were arrived at? Why don't you implement? Why don't you implement those things that were arrived at? They are good for us as a country, as a people, whether Christians, Muslims, animists, and whatever.
Politicians who hide behind people like us, our groups, to seek for shortcuts to power, need to understand that they're actually setting the country aflame. We are not good politicians. And sometimes when we raise these issues about it has to be the North, it has to be the South, the truth about it is that the politicians know we're just generalizing issues. If you want to govern this country, you have to soil your boots. It cannot be just about the north and south. It has to be about every inch of Nigeria.
You know, corruption is almost like drinking water now. And it is that pervasive. So we need to look for metrics. We should be moving towards, in 2023, clear metrics that you can measure, that you can announce, you can communicate, and we can measure your progress. With corruption, that's tough. Because when you talk about corruption with women, they say, but wait a minute, we are discussing financial corruption. What of rape? How many rape cases have gone unaccounted for?
The forum also raised fears on the looming uncertainty in the political sphere, laced with dangerous and unguarded rhetorics, with a call on political actors to work towards peaceful, free and fair elections, irrespective of their ethnic, religious and regional dispositions. Shapir Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Attendance of this year's dialogue cuts across the political, civil service and traditional space, including former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammadu Sa'ad Abubakar, as well as former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Trust TV's Chijoke Okafor reports that General Abdulsalami says Nigeria is at a crossroad and fuel price increase will only push millions into poverty.
This is the 19th Daily Trust Dialogue, which held at the NAV Conference Center in Abuja. The annual program with the theme 2023, the politics, economy and insecurity, has drawn dignitaries and key players in the Nigerian polity from different parts of the country.
Young people and women are the demographic groups most affected by the country's dire economic outlook. For example, estimates by the National Bureau of Statistics show that while the national unemployment rate stood at 33% by the end of 2020, unemployment for young people between ages 15 and 34 years was 10% higher at 42.5%.
The event was graced by 7 and former political leaders, including the former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, Governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Muhammadu Sa'ad Abubakar, amongst others.
There can be too many dialogue sessions, not only in this country but across the world, but let's concentrate in our country, because people see us everywhere talking to one another. And that's the best way of resolving our issues. Put all of it on the table, discuss them, and of course agree, or disagree to agree, or agree to disagree. And I think we'll continue talking to one another, but that's the best form of solving problems.
Speakers collectively hammered on the need for the affairs of governance to be evenly distributed, such that every Nigerian from every region feels included. All along, stressing the importance of accountability on the part of politically elected leaders, as this is interconnected with economic growth and development, as well as the stability of security in the country.
Politics is the way people living in groups make decisions. Here in Nigeria, the type of political system that we are having is democracy. A form of government in which people choose leaders by voting. But let us also understand that security is everybody's business.
If you don't change the quality of leadership from the president down, and you get Nigerians who will genuinely work for the system and the country, I'm not sure this country will survive. Leadership has brought this country to its knees. And it's only good leadership that will regenerate this country and put it back on its feet.
The choice of our leaders and its leaders, it's the president, it's all the elected office holders, but also other office holders or other institutional leaders. Is extremely important, and the need to have people who are not just competent from a perspective, okay, they went to school or they have this degree. I think it's really more of capability, having the skills and have done it before and the track record, to accomplish the kind of change Nigeria needs.
The 19th Daily Trust Dialogue is coming as the 2023 general elections draw nearer. And with the political space largely heated, the economy almost in shambles, and insecurity hovering over the country, it is important to set agendas right before Nigerians head to the ballot. Chijoke Okafor, Trust TV News, Abuja.
We are now joined by Ilyas Sugadu, columnist and editorial board member, Daily Trust. Welcome to News Hour.
Yeah, good to be here.
All right, so can you give us your impression on this year's dialogue with, a lot of people, itemizing problems that is currently facing the nation and also preferring solutions?
Well, let me just first of all say that the Daily Trust has been doing this for the past 19 years. And for all of those years, the quality of the dialogue has never gone down. In fact, it's always going up, and this year's was no less different. And in fact, it's even the bar was raised because, you could see from the personalities that graced the occasion. You had the former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar. You had former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who made haste to be there. He just landed in the country and he came there. And then there is His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto, Dr. Saad Abubakar. So this to show you the quality that the Daily Trust, brings to this dialogue. And of course, the issues, that were, in play, in discussion today, were issues that are of germane importance to the country. So, I think, we need to give kudos to Daily Trust, but also to look at the reality that is facing us as a country. And speaker after speaker, from the General Abdulsalami to the governor of Borno State, to the Professor Babagana Zulum, to the speakers at the dialogue, they all talked about the issues that are confronting this country, the existential challenges right now as we move towards the cycle of elections in 2023. So it's a very, very important forum to discuss these issues that are facing us in Nigeria. And today's event was no less qualitative as the ones we've had before.
All right, now the Sultan of Sokoto said at the dialogue that politics should not be left for politicians. So every citizen should put all hands on deck, to involve themselves in politics. What is your thoughts on this? And also, should we incentivize, political participation?
Yeah, of course. I mean, politics, they say, is local. And I quite agree with him. Just as war is not, war should not be left to generals. Politics should not just be left to the politicians, especially as we find ourselves in this situation in Nigeria, because we've seen that the politicians themselves are struggling to be able to put two and two together regarding even their own political parties, regarding the issue of participation, inclusiveness, and all that. So we need to, and the situation we're facing in this country is not just limited to the political parties or the politicians, but all and sundry. So the call by His Eminence, Dr. Saad Abubakar, is quite germane and it's quite timely, because as it is now, we have seen the foibles, the foibles of the politicians, and we cannot allow ourselves to allow them to continue to lead us down the blind alley. We must get everybody on board. All hands must be on the plow, because that's what we're facing now. Because what we are getting into a very, very serious situation within the next election cycle, and things don't seem to add up in the political arena with the politicians. So definitely we need to put all hands on deck. We have to ensure that everybody comes out with solutions to what is happening in this country, so that we can all find a way through which we can remedy some of the issues that are facing us today in the country.
Okay, now while you share your thoughts on the fuel subsidy removal, the former head of state Abdulsalami Abubakar at the dialogue said if fuel prices are increased, or if fuel prices increased, that Nigerians will be further pushed into hardship.
Incidentally, that is what that's the topic I handled in one of my my last two columns, because it's been presented to us as a removal of subsidy, inefficient subsidies, but the reality is that we cannot have this this increase in fuel prices at this critical time that we are going into a very critical election year. And we all know that already the situation in the country is dire for a lot of people. There's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of inflation, there's a lot of angst and anxiety. Now, in the midst of all this, you now increase, or you so to speak, remove the subsidy, then you are creating more problems for the country, and that will have serious effect on the conduct of elections and even the stability of the country. Already we are suffering from insecurity arising from social factors, arising from the economic factors. If you add this issue of increase in fuel prices, you are going to exacerbate the whole the tinderbox that we are already sitting on. And I believe, as somebody who was a former head of state, who knows where the shoe pinches and who sees the reality of the situation, I'm happy that former head of state has actually agreed with what I wrote and what a lot of Nigerians are talking about. It will be disastrous for the government in this situation we are, no matter the allure to try to increase prices in petrol, because at the end of the day, you are going to throw the baby with the bathwater. And we don't want to have that situation at this critical moment, because it's going to really exacerbate the poverty situation, increase the tendency towards insecurity, is going to alienate a lot of Nigerians, and it's going to create a lot of problems that we could do without.
Okay, now one of the reasons given for removal of fuel subsidy is the Minister of Finance said that 5,000 will be given to every poor Nigerian. How can we be certain that every poor Nigerian would actually get such amount?
Yeah, I think the government didn't do the numbers very well, because if you look at the numbers, it far exceeds what the government is going to hopes to save from the subsidy. If the sums are that we want to remove subsidy, it costs us about 1.8 trillion naira, and then you're going to spend the total amount of money you're going to spend at 5,000 naira for 40 million Nigerians, you're going to spend way over what you are going to save from the subsidy. So the numbers don't increase. And in any case, this is a fundamental issue for us in Nigeria. The issue of subsidy has been overflogged. It has been made to look like a four-letter word. There is no country in the world, and I stand to be challenged, there is no, including even the so-called industrialized countries, that do not exist on subsidies. In fact, they exist on layers and layers on subsidy from industry, agriculture, education, health, and what have you. And in fact, if you look at it, the subsidy or so-called subsidy is what is sustaining the social capital in the country. If you remove it, you have already removed what little of the social capital that the individual enjoys in this country. And then you are going to create more problems than you solve with it. So I think what needs to do is to go and negotiate. It's an international issue, for God's sake. We have to go back to those people asking us to do to remove the subsidies and ask them whether they would do the same thing in their countries. Because it's a way of trying to put us into trouble, which they will not come to solve when it happens. Because when the trouble starts, coming up, they will not be around. They will look for excuses to say we have not done everything. And we've seen it happen in our countries. We've seen it happen in Kazakhstan. We've seen it happen in Arab countries, and we don't want it to happen in a very volatile, fragile Nigeria. We need to. Before we even do it, we need to sit down and talk. During the time of Babangida, even though at the end of the day, he implemented this structural adjustment program, but he actually, he at least sought the views of Nigerians. Of course, at the end of the day, as a military regime, it went ahead and did it. But this is more, in this case, with the democratic experience we need to have a serious dialogue. We need to know where the government, we need to get the numbers from the government. We need to be able to convince that, yes, it's the thing to do, especially in this situation that we find ourselves.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us on News Hour today. All right. That was Ilyasu Gadu, and he's a columnist and editorial board member with Daily Trust. Moving on to more news. Independent National Electoral Commission has convened its Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security meeting to map out strategies towards ensuring provision of adequate security in the upcoming off-cycle elections and the 2023 general elections. The meeting provides the Commission an opportunity to brainstorm with the various security agencies in the country on issues regarding election security and how best they can be addressed. Trust TV reporter Seged Ibrahim has details.
Ahead of the various off-cycle elections as well as the 2023 general election, the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security convened at the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission to map out strategies towards ensuring adequate security is provided for a hit-free poll. Speaking during the meeting, which had in attendance heads of the nation's security agencies and their representatives, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who also doubles as the chairman of the committee, explained that it awaits the conclusion of consultation with security agencies before it releases dates of election for areas in Kaduna and Zamfara states currently facing security challenges.
The date for the Shinkafi State constituency by-election in Zamfara state will be decided after consultation with the security agencies regarding the security situation in the area, while the Commission awaits the declaration of vacancy by the Kaduna State House of Assembly in respect of Giwa West State constituency, to be followed by a review of the security situation in the area as well.
He also gave an update on the forthcoming FCT Area Council election.
As early as next week, the INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner and the Commissioner of Police will brief us on the state of preparation, with emphasis on identifying flashpoints and the security situation generally in the FCT. At that meeting, the Commission will provide an overview of our readiness for the election, involving 68 constituencies, 6 area council chairmen, and 62 councillors.
Professor Yakubu also added that the Commission is doing its best to address issues regarding the continuous voter registration exercise and looking forward to activating 1,862 additional centers nationwide for easy access and to further secure the lives of registrants.
I want to assure Nigerians that we are aware of the constraints experienced by many citizens in reaching the 811 designated centers nationwide to register. We are mindful of the imperative of securing the process, especially the lives of registrants and our personnel. We will not put the lives of Nigerians and our registration officials at risk. For this reason, this meeting will review the security situation with a view to achieving our ultimate goal of activating 2,673 registration centers nationwide.
Also speaking was the representative of the National Security Advisor, Babagana Munguno, who described the meeting as an opportunity for members to brainstorm on challenges of upcoming elections and how they can be addressed.
This meeting is timely, as it will enable members to collectively brainstorm on how to address the identified challenges in a proactive manner. This is very important given the fact that 2023 general election is around the corner. This is in addition to the forthcoming Federal Capital Territory FCT chairmanship and councillorship elections scheduled for 12 February 2022, and 2 off-cycle governorship elections of Ekiti and Osun State, as well as other by-elections in the country. The NSA wishes to reiterate Mr. President's commitment toward ensuring a free, fair, and credible forthcoming general elections in 2023.
Sagir Ibrahim reporting for Trust TV.
Inspector General of Police Usman Baba says there must be synergy between the police, military and other security agencies to win the war against banditry, militancy and all forms of insurgency in the country. The police boss stated this while speaking in Calabar on Thursday during a one-day familiarization tour. The IGP emphasized the need for the police to collaborate with the military and other sister agencies to fight their common enemy, noting that crime is dynamic due to time and individuals involved. He said the force is revamping all the police training colleges across the country so that schools can have better and improved infrastructure to provide qualitative training for intakes. President Muhammadu Buhari is on a two-day working visit to Kaduna State, where he commissions projects executed by Governor Nasir El-Rufai. However, some residents groan that presidential movement in the state affects daily activities. The report.
President Buhari arrived Kaduna Wednesday evening for a two-day official visit that takes him to various parts of the state to commission completed projects. Some Kaduna residents speak on the visit.
Government is for the people, by the people and the people. And definitely if government is for the people, by the people and the people, so they should try and see how they can be able to move forward for the Nigerian people, to put Nigerian people forward so that everybody will be happy for what is happening here. Because we cannot be able to be here and eating the construction. If you look at like Zaria, when you enter Zaria, you will see much of construction that is happening in Zaria. Definitely Zaria look good.
If he's coming today is for the road only, not for the people, because you can see what is affecting people, like the issue of insecurity and whatsoever. There is no any concern to solve the problem, to at least make the security, make the place secured.
While the president is impressed with completed projects he has seen, residents say kidnappings, banditry and other criminal activities should have been his concern.
You have committed yourself to changing Kaduna, and you have been very successful, and people throughout the country are appreciating. So you are writing your history in letters of gold. I congratulate you for your achievements so far.
This is the first time President Muhammadu Buhari is spending more than a night in Kaduna since his election into office in 2015.
Senate's move to restrict payment of rent annually to monthly within the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, is generating mixed reactions amongst residents. A bill titled Advanced Rent Residential Apartments Office Spaces Regulation Bill 2022 is sponsored by Senator Smart Adeyemi, APC Kogi West. Trust TV's Fatima Musa speaks to some tenants within the FCT.
A bill that seeks to regulate the mode of payment of rent in the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) has been introduced in the Senate. The bill, titled Advanced Rent Residential Apartment Office Space Regulation Bill 2022, was one of the 5 bills read for the first time during the plenary. Kogi State Senator Smart Adeyemi said if the bill passed will make it an offense for any landlord to demand payment of advance rent from tenants. It seeks to reduce advance payment of rent from 1 or 2 years by tenants to 3 months and subsequent monthly payments. The bill comes amidst complaints by Abuja residents of the high cost and mode of payment of rent. Many residents in the FCT have over time lamented the difficulty involved in getting accommodation due to high cost, and few who do are asked to make advance payments of 2 or 3 years. Accommodation in the city ranges from 1.5 to 4 million naira depending on the size and area. This has made many opt for accommodation in satellite towns like Nyanya, Kubwa, Lugbe, Kuje, among others.
If everything is okay in this world, even if a house rent is up to 1 million, nobody will care about it. Because the money is coming, the balance is okay, everything is, you understand?
The issue of rent should be based on the ability of the tenant, what the tenant can afford to pay. Ordinarily, you can see a house maybe of 2 million, 5 million, then somebody can, if you are buoyant enough, you can pay upfront. It's on the landlord. There are landlords that can even collect for a month, depending on the rapport between the tenant and the landlord. So somebody can even pay for 10 years. There is nothing wrong with it.
I think the bill should be signed because the way the economy is these days, there are some people that cannot afford paying a year rent, and sometimes the way the landlord used to do to some people. So I think the government should look into it, and the rent is somehow high. I don't know if they can try to bring it down for the masses so that a lot of people that are staying in Abuja will have their own residential place.
Yes, of course, at least to aid the common masses to get out of the pain of having to deal with everyday's life issues, because they're already having enough problems. So adding that will be like trying to add to their problems, because most people earn like on a daily basis, and then their stream of income is like somehow low and all that. You don't expect them to meet up with this high demand of coming up with something as witty as a year's rent or two. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's a good step from the government, but they need to do more to support the landlord and the individual by getting more mass housing for individual. When there is more from the government, I think the landlord and the landladies will reduce the way they handle their things and the way they charge the tenant, because there's nothing from the government in order to support the masses, the individual. So I think you expect nothing from the landlord than to increase the rent.
Nigerians are bitter and call on the federal government to look into more pressing issues than focusing on regulating rents, while some are happy about this new development. Fatima Musa, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, how over 170,000 arms gets missing. Do stay with us.
Is it true that you were about to retire as Chief of Defense Staff in 1998? That is story. A day before you retired, Abacha died. And instead of retiring, you are promoted to head of state.
Right from the beginning of Abacha's administration, there are quite a number of some caucus members of that military. We were very uncomfortable with some of us, and we were penciled for retirement. But luckily enough for me, all the time, anytime I escaped being retired up to the time, God in His wisdom did what He did, and I became the head of state. I thank my God for guiding me. If I hadn't said the American team should go and meet Abiola, certainly I don't know how I will explain to the world that Abiola has that. And the American team, will they believe me that we had not killed Abiola at that time when they were requesting to see him?
Welcome back. You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. Let's take a look at some of our top stories. You heard that speakers at the 19th Daily Trust Dialogue want all Nigerians to join hands to salvage the country from its current challenges as the nation approaches the next circle of elections. Plus, Independent National Electoral Commission has convened its Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security meeting to map out strategies towards ensuring provision of adequate security in the upcoming off-cycle elections and the 2023 general elections. Moving on to more news, Kano State Government on Thursday says it has so far vaccinated over 1 million people in the state with the COVID-19 vaccine. Director, Disease Control, Kano Primary Healthcare Management Board, Dr. Imam Bello, made this known at a media roundtable and orientation exercise held for journalists in Kano in collaboration with the State Ministry of Health. Dr. Imam said the state is targeting at least 50% of over 7 million people in the first quarter of the year 2022, adding that no less than 20,000 people are being vaccinated daily in Kano. The government called on media practitioners and development partners to use their mediums in promoting the cause of the exercise for the benefit of the people of the state. Federal government has inaugurated the governing board of the National Senior School Education Board. Speaking during the inauguration of the board, the Minister of Education, Adamu, charged its members to use their wealth of experience to pilot the nation's senior secondary school education towards excellence. He, however, called on the board members to uphold the principles of federal character, promote equity and fairness while dealing decisively with issues regarding misconduct during discharging its duties. The board is charged with the responsibility of prescribing the minimum standards and regulating the senior secondary education in Nigeria.
You should respect the principle of better character in the appointment of your staff. You must comply with all relevant government regulations and extant policies, in addition to ensuring transparency, probity, and due process in all your endeavors. You should put effective strategies in place for early detection and eradication of social biases such as drug dealing, religious intolerance, and other forms of misconduct.
All opportunities should be harnessed by members of the board to put the Commission on a sound footing by facilitating supervision and guidance in accordance with the Education for Change Ministerial Strategic Plan 2018 to 2022, which is intended to provide the roadmap for an accelerated delivery of inclusive quality education to all Nigerian citizens.
I'm optimistic that today's inaugural ceremony will facilitate the implementation of the mission and vision of INSEC, which is geared towards revolutioning senior secondary education for global competitiveness.
It is my sincere belief that members of this commission are one-thirds in rank goals who have all it takes to formulate policies for and supervise senior secondary education in the country. The task before us is a very daunting one, but not insurmountable. I am very confident of this because of my personal belief in our indefatigable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu.
House of Representatives has set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the missing 178,459 arms and ammunition from the armory of the Nigerian Police Force. This follows reports from the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation alleging the disappearance of the arms and ammunition from the armory of the Nigerian Police Force nationwide. The report.
The motion, sponsored by the Deputy Minority Leader of the House, Toby Okechukwu, under matter of urgent national importance, follows 2019 report from the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. According to the report, a total of 178,459 arms disappeared from the armory of the Nigeria Police in 2018. The lawmaker also gave a breakdown of the missing firearms and ammunition, which include 88,078 AK-47 rifles, 3,907 assaulted rifles, and pistols across different police formations, while others could not be accounted for.
Instead of queuing behind of the Auditor General's report of 2017, 2018, 20, this should be brought up to speed.
However, there were arguments on the floor on who should carry out the investigation, either a standing committee or an already constituted ad hoc committee, which the House had constituted to investigate a similar assignment.
In tandem with the motion that we passed before the exit of our House, a committee constituted to look into the issue of those who are releasing criminals, and this is a very much related motion to it. I will have said in line with our rules to allow the police committee to report. We have a duplication of function. This issue of now arms and accusations disappearing and ended up where they may be with armed robbers is part of it.
I think this motion is in order. It captures both the prayers, both the views, opinions canvassed by my leader, the Deputy Speaker, and Honorable Fulata. Because if you look at the second leg of the prayers, it's very clear.
Since we've already set up an ad hoc committee, whether erroneously or not, I don't know, let them continue or bring a motion to rescind that decision. I think that's the best, the procedure, the way to go about it.
Meanwhile, the lawmakers adopted the motion unanimously when put to vote by Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila and before referring the matter to the Standing Committee for further legislative action.
As part of efforts to curb illegal importation of Nigerian artifacts, Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, hosts the United States Ambassador to Nigeria. The duo signed a memorandum of understanding on cultural artifacts to reduce the pillage of irreplaceable archaeology and ethnological materials. The report.
Nigerian ancient arts are greatly appreciated around the world. Ordinarily, this should be exhilarating news to Nigerians, but it is also a cause for concern because ancient arts are highly coveted, and this encourages sponsored looting and illicit trafficking of these works by unscrupulous foreigners and Nigerians. It is on the basis of the UNESCO 1970 Convention that Nigeria and the United States of America have agreed to leverage on American legislation the Convention on Cultural Property Implementation Act to prevent the illicit importation of Nigerian artifacts into the United States.
Widespread looting and distribution of these materials still continue. The stolen artifacts are mostly smuggled to Europe, United States of America, and other places for the benefit of art collectors. To curb these nefarious activities, Nigeria resorted to the UNESCO 1970 Convention, which enjoins member states to the convention whose cultural patrimony is in jeopardy completely.
The United States has established bilateral agreements like this one with other countries on the continent. The US and Egypt signed an agreement on cultural property in 2016, and in 2021, the agreement was modified to expand protection to include additional categories of cultural objects.
The agreement, which is to last for an initial period of 5 years, will be renewed if effective. This will prevent illegal importation of Nigerian antiquities into the United States without the requisite export permit and will be seized at the border of the United States and returned to Nigeria.
Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, has ordered all the 23 local government area chairmen in the state to destroy every identified illegal crude oil bunkering and artisanal refinery sites in Rivers State. The governor has also asked the Rivers State Commissioner of Police, Eboka Friday, to provide adequate security for the chairmen as they embark on mass destruction of the sites across the state. The report.
Governor Wike gave the order during a meeting with the 23 local government area chairmen, the State Commissioner of Police and the Commandant of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps NSCDC at the Government House, Port Harcourt. The governor acknowledged that since the state government intensified the fight against illegal refinery operators who are primarily responsible for the discharge of impure carbon particles resulting from the incomplete combustion of hydrocarbons into the atmosphere, the air quality in the parts of Rivers State has improved remarkably.
Nigeria, we don't believe that anything can happen. Nobody takes government serious. But in our own case, they have no choice, but they will take us serious. I will not relent in this fight. And all of you should hire bulldozers or whatever. All those areas, whether they're in the bush, they're in the Akriko, clear that place. Government will give you some money. You go and hire bulldozers and if you ask, excavator, whatever, go and clear it so they know that we are serious.
Wike, who regretted the failure of the federal government to take any action to end the soot crisis in the oil-producing states, said his administration cannot fold its arms and watch some deviant persons destroy the environment and health of the citizens.
Whether federal government is interested to support us or not is immaterial. We cannot fold our arms and say, let it be. And then we're dying every minute and people are running away from the environment. You paint a house today, the next 2 hours, it has taken a different color, you know. But one thing I want to say, which is very clear, and like everybody knows, I am not against anybody making money. But we cannot allow people to make money while others are dying.
Governor Wike said he is mindful that the state government intensifies the war against illegal refinery activities. The cartel behind illicit business will make efforts to compromise unscrupulous security agents in the state. He warned that he will personally visit the Inspector General of Police, the Commandant General of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, and the Chief of Army Staff in Abuja to report any of the personnel implicated in the illegal crude oil bunkering and artisanal refinery activities in the state.
Let's take a short break. News Hour will return. Welcome back. Let's join Chamunda Beng for Business News Update.
Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) is alerting members of the public on a cybercrime group which has perfected a New Year scheme to deliver ransomware to targeted organizational networks. The new ransomware, uncovered by security experts, has been categorized by the Nigerian Computer Emergency Response Team's NG-CERT advisory as high risk and critical. NCC explained that the NG-CERT advisory in its RECEP 5 release said the criminal group had been mailing out USB drives to several organizations in hopes that recipients will plug them into their computers and install the ransomware onto their networks. The present target are businesses. However, the cyber criminals could soon start sending out infected USB drives to individuals. According to the NG-CERT advisory, the USB drives contain a bug called bad USB attacks. The bad USB exploits the USB standard's versatility and allows an attacker to reprogram a USB drive to emulate a keyboard to create keystrokes and commands on a computer. It then installs malware prior to the operating system booting or spoofs a network card to redirect traffic. Numerous attack tools are also installed in the process that allows for exploitation of personal computers, lateral movement across the network, and installation of additional malware. The tools were used to deploy multiple ransomware strains, including Black Bata and Revil. NG-CERT is calling on all individuals and organizations not to insert USB drives from unknown sources. According to the African Petroleum Producers Organization, APPO, the Dangote oil refinery will cut the importation of petroleum productions in Africa by 36%. APPO also said the success of the project could incentivize the rise of similar projects across Africa despite the current focus on energy transition. Secretary General of APPO, Dr. Omar Farouk Ibrahim, stated that the refinery will supply over 12% of Africa's products demand once the refinery becomes operational. Dr. Ibrahim also hailed Dangote's decision to go ahead with the construction of crude oil refinery despite a campaign against fossil fuels, adding that the demand for fossil fuel is going to continue for several decades to come. Lagos State Government has introduced a consolidated informal sector transport levy of 800 naira daily for commercial bus drivers, out of which their personal income taxes would be deducted and tax cards issued to them. The disclosure was made by the Commissioner for Finance, Dr. Rabiu Olo, during the unveiling of the Consolidated Informal Sector Transport Levy ticket, designed to harmonize dues collected by the government from commercial motorists at parks and garages across the state. The daily levy is a single structured collection of the money payable to all government agencies and parties who are directly or indirectly associated with the transport sector. The 800 naira levy covers money for the local government, clearing of waste from motor parks paid to the Ministry of Transportation, Lagos State Waste Management Agency LOMA, and the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency LASEPA, among others. The harmonized levy payment will take effect from February 1st, and each commercial bus driver would be expected to pay 800 naira daily, or 24,000 naira monthly, or 292,000 naira in a year. This is, however, aside from dues collected by the National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW. Chairman of the Lagos State chapter of NURTW, Alhaji Musiliu Akinsanya, popularly known as MC Olomo, clarified the 800 naira consolidated informal transport sector levy does not deprive the union of collecting its normal statutory levy, National Union ticket, while he assured that the union dues will not be collected at only one point in a structured manner going forward. That's all for business news on Trust TV. I am Chamun Dabeng.
The first foreign aid plane has arrived in Tonga, carrying much-needed water and supplies for the Pacific nation. New Zealand's Commander of Joint Forces, Rear Admiral Jim Gilmore, said its military plane landed at Tonga's main airport after workers cleared ash from the runway. It is loaded with water containers, temporary shelter kits, electricity generators, hygiene and family kits, and communications equipment. Other planes and ships sent by New Zealand and Australia are on the way. Both Australian and New Zealand authorities have confirmed that the drops will be contactless to prevent the risk of COVID-19 spreading to the island, which has seen just one case of the virus so far in the pandemic. At least 3 people died in Saturday's eruption. Communications are crippled, and Tonga has only just begun to re-establish global contact after 5 days cut off from the rest of the world. Ibrahim Yusuf has details of other foreign news.
Gambian President Adama Barrow is sworn in for a second term on Wednesday at ceremonies near the capital Banjul. He is sworn in for a second 5-year term at a stadium at Bakau on the outskirts of Banjul in ceremonies attended by foreign VIPs that climaxed with a 21-gun salute. Barrow's first election in 2016 put an end to more than 20 years of Yahya Jammeh's rule over the tiny West African nation. The former property developer is re-elected in December, winning 53% of the vote. December's election was peaceful and marked the first vote in the former British colony of 2 million people since Jammeh fled into exile in January 2017 after his surprise defeat at the ballot box. Jammeh ruled for 22 years, presiding over a regime accused of a litany of abuses, including death squads and torture. The United Democratic Party of leading opposition candidate Usainu Dabo appealed the election results to the Supreme Court, alleging irregularities and corruption in Barrow's campaign. The plea was dismissed. Liberian President George Weah visits victim in hospital after a stampede at an open-air prayer meeting at the capital Monrovia that killed 29 people, including 11 children and a pregnant woman. Police in Liberia say the victims were killed at a religious event in the suburbs of the Liberian capital Monrovia. Police spokesman Moses Carter said the soccer field gathering ended in chaos when the men attacked worshippers shortly after nightfall, attempting to hijack their personal effects, triggering a stampede that killed more than 24 people. The Liberian Red Cross and National Emergency Agency has been called to assist the injured and the families of the deceased. Liberia, Africa's oldest republic, is an impoverished country that is still recovering after back-to-back civil wars between 1989 to 2003, as well as the 2014 to 2016 West Africa Ebola epidemic. Peru has demanded compensation from the Spanish oil giant Repsol after freak waves from a volcanic eruption near Tonga caused an oil spill described as the worst ecological disaster to hit the South American country in recent history. Peru's Prime Minister, Mirtha Vázquez, said the Pampilla refinery run by Repsol apparently did not have a contingency plan for an oil spill. The country's foreign ministry called on the company to immediately compensate for the damage caused by the spill on Saturday, which had inflicted serious harm to hundreds of fishermen's families and had put in danger the flora and fauna in 2 protected natural areas. Authorities cordoned off 3 beaches on Monday after 6,000 barrels of oil were spilled during the offloading of a tanker at La Pampilla refinery just off the coast near Lima. Meanwhile, spokesperson for Repsol, Tine Vandenwall, denied it should accept responsibility for the incident, saying they did not cause the ecological disaster. The Energy and Mining Regulation Body has ordered the suspension of operations at the refinery pending an investigation into the incident.
We will now join Adeni Ajishafe for Sports Update.
Nigeria's under-20 women's team, Falconets, will continue their quest for Costa Rica 2022 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup qualifiers as they jet out to Douala, Cameroon, to face the Lionesses of Cameroon junior team. Falconets will aim to beat Lionesses of Cameroon at Stade Diaproma in Douala in 4th-round qualifying match. Nigerian Falconets are familiar with the stadium after defeating Central African Republic 7-0 in their first-round, first-leg encounter in September 2021. Return leg will take place at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena on Saturday, 5th February in Lagos. Former Newcastle United star Ben Arfa says he is happy to join Lille after facing the club severally in French Ligue 1. After featuring for different clubs like Nice, PSG and Reims before linking up with Ronaldo Nazario at Valladolid in La Liga. Alpha returns to France and signed a 1-year deal with Bordeaux in June 2020 before becoming a free agent last May. Ben Arfa has played 15 times for France, scoring twice for his country. And in AFCON, Southern African countries Namibia and Botswana are planning to submit bids for the 36th edition in 2027, with 2023 and 2025 African Cup of Nations having host nations. Namibia's Minister of Sport, Audrey March, says Botswana reached out on Wednesday to have a joint bid for AFCON. Côte d'Ivoire will host 2023 edition, while Guinea hosts 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. President Muhammadu Buhari has commended the Super Eagles of Nigeria for keeping hope alive at the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations AFCON in Cameroon by winning 3 group matches and advancing to the second round of the tournament in style. President Buhari, through his senior special assistant on media and publicity, Malam Garba Shehu, encouraged Super Eagles to maintain and surpass the performance that made them leaders in Group D, as Nigeria looks forward to 7 wins to lift AFCON trophy, with 3 down and 4 to go. President Muhammadu Buhari wishes Super Eagles the best in their remaining matches, pledging his administration's support to use sport as a tool to build a better and peaceful world. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
We've come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Dashan Husseina Usman. Thanks for watching.